Hi everyone, thank you for joining today's Broker Roundtable meeting, Social Media and Online Advertising Compliance. Before we start, I just want to say how proud we are to be able to offer a ton of new and amazing free marketing tools to all of our agents through agentmarketing.com. This would not be possible without all of you and your outstanding amount of agent referrals to AJI. As Allison James continues to grow, with agents referring other agents to our brokerage, we will be able to provide more of these free tools to you. Now, I am going to show everyone how to log in to agentmarketing.com. If you have not logged in yet, all you need to do is go to agentmarketing.com here and click on Forgot Username. Once you do that, if this is your first time logging into the system, you will receive an email with your username and password. From that point on, all you need to do is go to our Alison James website. That is AlisonJamesInc.com. Over on the Careers tab, you'll see our Agent Center. And at the very top, you can log in directly into agentmarketing.com from our Agent Center. Also, this is a great place for you to come if you're looking for any Alison James logos. We have a ton of different formats available in here. We also have the vector image logo, that's the EPS format. I know that most printing companies request those, so if you are looking for that, you can find that here in the Agent Center as well. We have our blog page on here. This is a consumer-based blog page. Feel free to take any of the posts off of here and use them on your own agent websites or your social media sites. You can also log into SkySlope directly from the Agent Center. Of course, that's our transaction management system. We have the link to log into Wolf Connect directly on here. And we also have our Education Center. If you are unable to attend one of our webinars or any of our webinars, you will be able to find the recorded version of all of those here in the Education Center. We have a ton of short and long educational videos to help you in your real estate business. So this is pretty much a one-stop area for you to access all of our systems in here. And if you have any questions at all regarding agentmarketing.com or any of the other systems, please feel free to contact me. You can email me events@ajicorporate.com, or I'm extension 5 from the corporate office line. Now, with that being said, Robert, would you like to begin?
Sure, Victoria, thank you. I'm very excited about those tools. I think that those are just fantastic for the agents, and I'm sure everybody will well utilize those. So today, we just wanted to spend a quick moment talking about social media, online advertising, and compliance regarding as such. Now, I'll also have a few best practices to go over as well, because for some reason, it's like one part of our brain shuts off whenever we're on social media, and we end up potentially posting things that we would probably never say in person, or just doing things that are either not tasteful or, or worse yet, not compliant. So one of the biggest infractions that I see compliance-wise is that a lot of times agents completely omit to actually put the company name associated with their advertising on the internet. Just like any other form of advertising, like a newspaper ad or anything else, it's a legal requirement that wherever you're posting anything that could be deemed a solicitation, you must also put Alison James Estates and Homes to identify that you're a broker and to basically let the public beware that it's not a for sale by owner situation and that you're an agent. So, you know, whether that be a Twitter post, whether that be Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, whenever you're posting something that is a solicitation of a property, make sure that you also include Alison James Estates and Homes. One thing that I think is smart to do on your personal websites is to put Alison James Estates and Homes in the footer of your website. That way it's automatically displayed on each and every page, such as, you know, all your different IDX links. Whenever customers are searching around on your site and they end up going down some bunny trail, that way you can know for sure that Alison James Estates and Homes will be displayed in the footer of every single page. And usually that's a pretty simple setting that either you, if you design it, or your web manager can, I'm sure, facilitate for you. So keep that in mind. That's really important. Another compliance infraction that I see sometimes that kind of makes me cringe, because you wouldn't, maybe this is something that you would say at a cocktail party, but just really shouldn't be discussed where it's public on social media, is whenever you've just sold something. It's important to realize that there's still a level of fiduciary responsibility to your customer whenever you've sold something. So it's a very slippery slope to say, just sold, 15 days on the market, or, things that are too descriptive, because potentially that could put your customer at a disadvantage in negotiating if they're soliciting backup offers. It's a slippery slope that can be misconstrued. Obviously there's all kinds of moving parts that you could inadvertently compromise the transaction by sharing too much information regarding your solds and those sorts of things before they've actually closed. Actually, after they've closed, then it's a little bit more liberal what you're able to disclose, because it's obviously a public record. But I would be very cautious about posting things before they've actually closed, because it might have sold in 15 days, and then a couple weeks later it might be available again, and potentially your customer could have a complaint that people are not looking at the property again because they thought it was sold based on what you posted. So just be very cautious about that. So another thing that I would recommend on the social media, just better practices, I would say, would be coming off as impersonal, arrogant, or unrelatable. To not boast about your business too much. I think that, again, it's kind of I would say a cocktail party ideology would be kind of the best way to think about this, that if you were meeting somebody at a cocktail party and they suddenly just started talking all about themselves and all about their accomplishments and just seemed pompous, and that is going to repel people away from you rather than attract them to you and make them find you interesting and want to engage in a conversation with you. So I think the same rule applies in social media, that you want to share things that are interesting, ask for people's opinion, ask for feedback, ask questions. I think that that's what makes a good conversation, is to have people that are engaging in the content that you're publishing. So the other thing that I would say is publishing inappropriate updates or comments. It's something else that I think is really distasteful, and I actually saw this yesterday in our market. An agent actually, and he says Sarasota Realtor in his name, but he published something on Facebook that was just totally inappropriate against another doctor in town. I mean, and it was very slanderous. It's something that I'm sure the doctor could potentially pursue legally if he decided to. But I'm sure that we all have strong opinions about certain things, but I think it's better to leave those for actual conversations with people that you don't think will be offended by your positions, because every potential customer is looking at your Facebook page, and you're a representation of your own business, and you're also a representation of our company. So leave some of the more subjective things to the side, where that you just wouldn't want to openly discuss and associate yourself with. And even some things, even if you don't mind associating or affiliating yourself with a certain point of view, it just might not be in the best taste to do so. Another problem that I see a lot of times with social media is sometimes agents have a tendency to promote their business too strongly, too overtly, or too often. I think that social media needs to be, again, the analogy of a party. You want people to enjoy you, enjoy getting to know you and spending time around you. And usually that does not always encompass a bombardment of advertisements. So I think that a good rule of thumb for your social media is 80-20. I would say 80%, tasteful, personal things, glimpses into your personal life, and 20% of actual business promotion, new listings, exciting achievements, accomplishments, whatever. But just make sure that there's a balance there, because if people feel like you're just starting to promote yourself too often, they're going to not want to follow your content. And some networks like Facebook have even started cracking down on certain content that's too promotional, and they're going to be filtering it out of people's news feeds. So it's important to just portray yourself as an actual person, sharing mostly personable things. Another problem that I see on social media is embellishing the features of a listing too much, and maybe just exaggerating the features of a property or photoshopping the photos too much to make them more appealing. This is a potential code of ethics violation, and it's clear that altering the photos too much is going to put you in trouble. I think that you can moderately play with the colors on photos to just kind of make them pop a little bit. But what I would definitely recommend not doing is, for instance, if there's like a building in the background of a front photo of the house or something, and to remove buildings, remove trees, any substantial photoshopping of your listings is definitely going to get you into trouble, and it is a violation of the code of ethics. So I would make sure that you are aware of that. And the same thing goes with your social media biographies. If you're providing details about your business and past accomplishments and certifications and sales history and all that sort of thing, obviously you want to make sure that it's accurate, because anything that's inflated might get yourself into trouble. So another thing that some agents are starting to do, which I would be cautious of, is giving your social media access, your account access to, if you have a team and you have some assistants or help or whatnot, I would be very cautious about giving your social media access accounts and your password information to staff to handle on your behalf. I mean, if you have a very high level of trust for somebody, that potentially could work out, but if you do post something publicly that is a violation of the code of ethics or could have a potentially derogatory effect on your business, when things are posted, even if you delete them instantly, it's so easy for people to grab screenshots, and we've seen so many different instances of athletes or different ones who've posted something on Twitter, for instance, for just a second, and then some very conflicting viewpoint of some sort, and then somebody grabs it, and then it just goes viral all of a sudden, and it can really make or break in some cases an entire career. So I would be very, very cautious about sharing your account access information with staff, because they might in their mind store it somewhere that it's safe, but it might not necessarily be safe to hackers or whatever, because once it goes on their computer, you don't know where it goes to from there. So be cautious about that. The other mistake is to post only personal updates, because I think that we want the 80-20% rule so that people can relate to you, but if you only post personal updates, then people won't actually know that you're in business. And if it's too personal with questionable things that potentially could be offensive to some people. I mean, some people are offended by alcohol being in photos and things like that. I mean, you want to use your good judgment whenever you're posting these sorts of things. And while for most people, alcohol is probably not offensive, there are some that they are. So just be aware of what you're posting and make sure that you're not doing anything that you think could potentially be frowned upon by most people. The other thing that you want to be careful of is not publishing any posts too frequently or at the wrong times. There are some studies that are interesting that there are certain days that you get more of a response than others. For instance, right now is probably not a good time on Monday morning to post something when everybody's coming back to work from a holiday weekend, and obviously everybody's focus is a little bit different, but usually like Tuesday afternoons, Thursdays, weekends, that's the time that people are sitting around just kind of checking out social media. Seems like afternoons are usually better for the more social networks. I think early mornings are better for networks like LinkedIn, where it's more of a business networking type of a portal. But there are some interesting studies about what times are most appropriate, which are kind of interesting. The other thing that I see a lot that I don't really enjoy are services that automatically post not original, not new content on your behalf, just kind of general real estate things. And if you really want to totally put it on autopilot, it works, although there are some new algorithms that I think that you'll see those kind of posts showing up less and less in your news feed. They're not given a lot of credibility. But I personally don't enjoy seeing realtors that are on my Facebook network just kind of posting unoriginal. I mean, you can spot it when you see it. Just the run-of-the-mill services that post things for you automatically. The other thing that I would avoid is just doing text-only posts in social media. It's obvious that people look at photos and videos much more often than they actually read anything. So nowadays there's so many opportunities to create videos and videos from your cell phone. You can text videos to people instead of texting them words. So I think anytime that you can interchange an image or a video instead of actually using text. I think that that's a smart idea. And one thing that I've seen that's also kind of smart, sometimes when you post a photo on social media or anywhere for that matter, you kind of lose control of it and it kind of just goes all over the place potentially. So if you're, if the photo is something that's attractive, that's potentially going to go all over the internet, why not brand that photo with your contact information, perhaps and if you were to do that, that would be a perfect example of a place that you would need Alison James Estates and Homes to go on that photo. It could be text, it could be a tasteful logo. So, but that's a smart idea. If you're posting photos, especially real estate photos, why not brand those photos with your contact information and the company logo? That way, if people are seeing this photo, they'll get your contact information as well. I think another thing to not do, to avoid, is trying to pay people. Like there's websites like Fiverr that offer services where they will, if you pay them, they will like your pages or post fake reviews to your account or your real estate account. So, I think it's better to be authentic with these kind of things. I think that people can spot these things, and if it's discovered, if people can spot that you have some inauthentic posts and likes and reviews, that it's something that could be exploited by your competition. So I think that's generally a bad idea. The other thing that I would avoid is, deleting comments or responding negatively, because sometimes conversations are created on Facebook that kind of go off track and people hijack your thread and then things get negative, and I would just stay out of that stuff. And I would also be careful to, unless it's just completely egregiously horrific, to not delete those comments, because it will make it will reflect poorly on your business if people feel like you're filtering what they need to say about something. And I mean, if it's something that's extremely derogatory about yourself or just completely, totally inappropriate, that might be different. It might be smart to reach out to whoever may have posted that and just say, listen, I appreciate your viewpoint, but I don't think this is appropriate for my page because I have customers going to my page. So, just use that with skill and care, and but don't be too quick to delete. If somebody has some legitimate feedback and some legitimate criticism maybe about your business, like, hey, I tried calling you last week and it took 3 days for you to call me back, something like that. Instead of deleting that comment, I would say, put it out there publicly, respond back in a very positive way. I'm very sorry that you had this experience. I hope that we now have satisfied you, or something that way that, the customer feels that you care about them, and the public can also see that, you're an authentic person, you didn't censor it, and you responded. So I think that's probably a better practice. The other thing that I would try to do is schedule some time, and not a lot of time, to be consistent with your social media. You don't want to just intermittently, kind of be here and then gone for a few months and then back again. And I think it's better with social media, and I have personally gotten business off social media. I've gotten a $1 million listing off social media, so it does work. You don't want to spend a tremendous amount of time on it, but you do want to be consistent with it. You just don't want to allow yourself to focus on it too much, and then it kind of distracts you from other things that you could be spending your time on that are more important. I would also spread yourself out on the different platforms. I wouldn't just do Facebook or just do Twitter, because I think that as the years go on, I think that there will be a lot of changes in which social networks are more popular than others. So try to find a third party that will post to all of your portals simultaneously, if you can. There's some good portals like Hootsuite. I think Buffer, Edgar does some of these, but so you can actually manually automate your postings before with Hootsuite, and I believe that you could post to all of your social media platforms at the same time, and you can schedule these in advance, so you don't have to constantly be disrupted and distracted with your social media. You can find a third-party site that you can schedule these things in advance so they hit at the right times. The other thing that I would recommend that you do, if you're also marketing with your own website, you can have Google Analytics on your website, which in my opinion is the best analytic company or service, I should say. And you can also keep tabs on the analytics, which traffic is coming from where. You can see the people that are visiting your website from a link on Facebook versus Twitter, or Craigslist, or whatnot. So So those are just some tips and better practices, and I think the big ones here are, when you're posting ads on like Craigslist or Zillow or Facebook, and now there's a great site that we like too called Postlets that post things all over. Just make sure that you put Alison James Estates and Homes there along with your name and your phone number. And that's probably the most common problem that I see that agents are often doing. But if you use some common sense, and I think that you'll be fine, and hopefully you found some other tips here that we shared that will be helpful to you. So as always, we're open to questions, and if you'd like to call or email myself directly, I'm always available for that. So that's all I got, Victoria. If anybody has questions, feel free to reach out and let us know here.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Robert. Yes, if anyone has any questions, please type those into the questions box so we will be able to see them. While we're on this topic, I would also like to bring up that our August webinar is going to be on Wednesday, August 19th, and we have Jennifer Taylor, who is the National Director of Internet Marketing for Movement Mortgage. She's going to be showing everyone how to generate leads by using Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus, along with all of the other social media sites. So she is wonderful. It's going to be a great webinar. We also have this month on the 15th, we have Shelley Hoyseth is going to be going over the CFPB guidelines. And I know that's been pushed back until October. Is that correct, Robert?
I do believe so, yes, and we have some other local opportunities in Sarasota as well. There's a law firm we work with a lot that's doing a physical class, so there's a lot of opportunities to learn more about this.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that's important. That's going to be our July webinar. So we have a few exciting things coming up. Doesn't look as though we have any questions, Robert, so I think we can go ahead and close out the webinar. If anyone does have any questions, you can contact Robert directly at robert@robertmilligan.com. Is that the best one?
That's okay. Correct.
And you can contact me directly by emailing events@ajicorporate.com. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and we hope you have a great morning and afternoon.
Thank you, Victoria. Bye now.
Thanks, Robert. Okay, bye-bye.